Good afternoon, everybody. No, good afternoon, Braben. How do we pronounce your surname? Is it Malamba or Malamba?
No, it doesn't matter with me.
Well,
as long as spelling is right.
We are very generous.
Spelling is
but otherwise, it is Wanjan. I mean, if I'm able to pronounce it properly. Okay, all right.
Uban sekapa bazayibiza ngendlela sekapa abantu kwenye indawo bazayibiza alondlela kodwa ayibizwa ngendlela ngendlela kodwa mind that's not spelling is right.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for attending. We'll just do the formalities. Advocate Mele is going to swear you in, whether it's swearing in or is going to ask you to make an affirmation, and then Mr. Sandile, July, will take you through your affidavit. Advocate Mele.
Thank you, Chair. Afternoon, Ben. Afternoon,
Good afternoon, Advocate.
Afternoon. Are you going to take an oath or are you going to affirm?
Good afternoon, Advocate, and you?
No, I'm well, thank you. Are you going to take an oath or are you going to affirm?
It's a form.
Okay. Mr. Ben Malamba, do you swear that the evidence you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If that is so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
Help me God.
Thank you very much. You've now been sworn in as a participant in the SJN hearings.
Mr. July.
Good afternoon, Mr. Malamba. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. July.
Yes, Mr. Malamba.
Good afternoon, Mr. July.
Yes, the oath that you took now, there's an affidavit in front of you, right? And that oath that you took, because your affidavit is not, the one in front of us, is not commissioned, nor is it signed by you. So the oath that you took now, it incorporates this oath. I mean, this affidavit. Do you accept that?
Yes, I accept it.
Yeah.
I do accept it, sir.
Yes. Now, your affidavit is structured, it's got a number of topics. You first deal with 1970 to 1988, which is your cricket experience, right?
Yeah.
And the period when you were still playing for Langa CC, right? Then you talk about the Newlands incident of racial hatred, which is where the kids came to watch cricket and then they were assaulted and all of that. And then you talk about racism experience in tow, right? And then you talk about the National Cricket Academy. And you have issues with the academy in relation to black people. Then you talk about white players getting preferential treatment, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, sir.
Yes. Then you talk about the 1988-1989, when you were part of the Clermont Cricket Club, when you guys won Premier League championship, right?
Correct, sir, yes.
Then 1998, you're talking about the Zimbabwean tour. And the year 2000,
correct,
the year 2000, now you become a coach and a coordinator. Cricket at Southern Natal, right? And then 2003, you talk about the Cricket
That's
World...
correct, yes.
2003, you talk about Cricket World Cup legacy funds. Yep.
Correct, sir.
And then lastly, you've got suggestions that you are making to the chairperson. So the ball is in your court now. You can start talking.
Mr. July, would you guys like me to present this in the sequence in which you just ran through?
Not necessarily. In the manner in which you are comfortable to do. We've got your affidavit in front of us. Just present it in the manner that you are comfortable and it will make sense to you.
%, sir. I need to start this with ISPAN. Is it allowed?
Yep.
Because that draws my strength, the strength some situation.
Yeah.
I need to start this for Proverbs 31, verse 8. Oti, open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. And the inspiration that I draw from this is that as children of God, made in His image, we are to be His representatives on this earth. Just as He defends those who cannot defend themselves, so must we. We have an ironclad obligation to speak up when we see those who are dumb, meaning those who have no voice for themselves. These could be unborn babies, children, the disabled, older adults, or animals for that matter. We have a voice compelled to use it. Whether we see someone being bullied or mistreated in any way, called to defend the defenseless, just as God defends us. Didlule.
Yep.
Right, Didlule. According to my affidavit, MLE drafted them. I'm going to try and read as much as I can. This was then maybe and maybe make comments after I've maybe read a paragraph or two of those paragraphs. So, about Kona Thumb, anything I furthermore, then you can stop. And that's about what you did actually, because you can nothing away link and running up.
I know. Oh, for now,
Fine,
we can
thanks.
hear you.
Is part when Kalingas, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yazi, that scripture that I started with, it draws my strength. And actually, it keeps me talking. And somehow, sometimes I don't get into being liked by not too many, because I go with what the Bible mainly tells me, and that's my upbringing. So I can't change now. I could have had a break with the Bible, but I'm back with the Bible again. So a lot of things in Bible, which doesn't lie at all to me. And I mean, that's my law there on Bible. So Cricket started from the very humble beginnings in Langa Township, that is in Cape Town. This all started with an ordinary wooden plank cut out in the shape of a cricket bat, where a 25-litre silver paraffin drum would be used as our wickets from either end of 22 yards distance on the road next to our homes. Our biggest influence whilst we were young was obviously our parents, and in particular when it comes to cricket, it was my dad. Playing on the roads was prompted by the fact that the generation of cricketers before us has already started with hardball cricket. And because we were young at that stage, we were not allowed to play with them, as we obviously would have gotten hurt from the hardball. As far as I can remember, Tango Junior Sekanyile, who was also part of our group, that is Temba Bavuma's uncle, was the only one permitted in our group to play in both streets, as his batting technique was very sound from a very, very early age. Our technique was there, rough, and we still had to get it polished, but his technique, very early in our stages, it was correct. So he was the only one in our group that was allowed to play both hardball and on street cricket. And that's Temba Bavuma's uncle. Competition was rough on the road. High in enthusiasm. There was passion, there was excitement, you name them. It was a full package of joy. This, together with our parents, really helped us with our upbringing. Who knows? I mean, you can't tell if it wasn't for those streets and this cricket, where one would have been now. I mean, considering what is happening and what has happened to our other kids. And also grew up. Hands up for our folks that did all the good work and actually got us to a stage where we are at, obviously, with the grace and the mercy of God that it got us going. Seasons went by and the whole group was graduated to hardball, meaning we're now allowed to practice with the hardball at a stadium which was just blocks away from us. When we had left there, then another group of cricketers took over our street pitches. I can remember the name of those who made the Western Province cricket trials and teams, sometimes at different levels, coming from the group like very talented Tando Toleni, Nwai Mfobo, the late Banana Simelani, and others who didn't make those particular colors, but played at a decent level and made names for themselves, like Nathaniel Tsolo, and others. The above-mentioned group also graduated to hardball cricket. Then another group came through, the group of Temba and Tami, Malodi, and they happened to live alongside our street, all are in the same surrounding, Nonopongolo, and others took over the street. But at this stage, because we're so advanced to them, this group that I'm talking about, they didn't play a lot of street cricket. They did, yes, but because their cricket got advanced very quickly, they went straight to the ground and they started with their hardball cricket at 11. Could have been mini cricket there, and then 11, and then in other age groups. So things were getting better and better from streets, and then the next generation joined us in the streets, and then the generation after that, a little bit in the streets, and went and went to the stadium and play hardball. Yes, a little bit of the mini cricket, but more hardball. Let's go back to our group. During the period of 1970 to 1985, there are a lot of chapters in as far as my cricket was concerned. Namely, to play for Langa Cricket Club, first team, younger than I had anticipated. That is one. I had now joined my seniors, who I used to look up to while they were playing hardball and whilst I was busy playing cricket in the streets. During those days at school, that is a higher primary school, we had a tournament that was sponsored by Click stores, to promote black cricket in the township, to operate, because during that time, there was no tournament like you would find the tournament that Ranabosch Boys High School would have, tournaments like Sachs would have, tournaments like Weinberg High would have, and all those. We were all in ourselves. They were running their own tournaments in themselves and their fixtures in ourselves. Understandably so. We were not in the right, we were not positioned in a proper infrastructure, as I may put it, because our nets were not in a good condition. Never looked like your nets that's just around the corner from us, which is Highlands High School. Never looked like any school, like any of those schools that I mentioned. And I guess it would have taken a while before we would join in and play with those schools, but you needed an attempt at least. That's what you needed. You needed a political will at least to get us, not to get us to be at the same level as them, but at least to get us going as well. Whether be far behind, whether we far in the middle somewhere, but we needed to get going. But through the messy, Clicks came and he started sponsoring the township Click store, started sponsoring the township tournaments. So this is when we started playing, I would say, formal cricket from the school, which is high school, and that's where most of it started. We would play schools in Bukletu, we would play schools, Langa would be, Fezeka would be, and whilst we were still in a higher primary school, we used to play also against the high schools of Fezeka, the high schools of Langa high schools, whilst we had high school. So we had a very strong side at higher primary school, because most of those players that were at higher primary schools were the players that were at the streets with us, playing street cricket at that stage. But obviously time has gone by and we have graduated to hardball, and slowly we picked up. We just kept the group as going because we needed to follow through or follow up with that group till we get to other stages. Actually, the school that we went to happened to have more of these players at the same school, which is the Zimasa Higher Primary School. And I mean, we played high school, people bigger than us, huge, much bigger than us, and we would give them a run for their money sometimes. But also that school, I take my hat off for it because it did contribute towards our cricket. There was a teacher there called Mr. Goba. Also, he was a cricketer from the Eastern Cape formerly, but he got a job to teach in that Zimas High Primary School. He loved his cricket, and actually his passion just was also passed over to us, because he was the one that was more serious in the high primary school with his cricket with us. So from then onwards, the passion kept going. And it kept going and kept going until you got to high school, kept going. This competition led to another competition, because now there was also a joint passport week that we would be rewarded on by being selected from these games, whether you play well during the year, and everybody was actually playing towards the joint passport week, just to make it, to play well during the year, to gain a selection into the passport week team, which was the Western Province passport week side. Now, this passport week, John Passport was the main, very instrumental in this tournament. He tried his level best, this man. He got to Langa when it wasn't fashionable during those days to come to Langa. I remember there were riots in Langa during the uprisings, whether it be 1976, 1981. Stoppages on the cycles somewhere for the cars not entering into Langa. Mr. Passport, white as he is, and you thought maybe he would be stoned and all, maybe his car bent, or maybe bent in his car. I remember those days, Mr. Passport, because he was so passionate about this, and he did done this long before the uprisings during that period in Langa. Mr. Passport will just wave to the protesters. The protesters as well will just wave to Mr. Passport and let him through, because he'd been coming to the ground, and he was not for mischievous actions, but to develop the cricket in Langa. And I guess that's a reason why every time he stops, every time he comes to, whether it be a barricade or a stop of protesters stopping, he was given a leeway. So no, Mr. Passport, no, you must just go through. So nothing was done to that man, because of all the good things that he did to the township. So time went by with all this passport. I was saying we were playing to gain selection into the passport side. So every year at the end of the year, there would be a passport tournament, whereby in this passport tournament, there will come provinces. Transvaal then was Transvaal, used to be part of this. Griqualand was there. Border was there. I remember, and I mean, they had very good players, even those. I remember a Border head. He's known to be Brian, but Brian Zunzu. He's known to be Brian. But we called him Slahosi because he could play. One of a few strong, and actually one of a few that you had in the tournament. You could, each and every team in that tournament had his trump card, had his good player, whether it be in your batting, when you're bowling, whether it be in your fielding. But we had good sides. We had very good sides. It is much, but I think that was after I'd finished, because that tournament was for the under 18s. I was a year older and out of the tournament. I remember what was introduced again after the tournament was to pick your best team of the tournament. It's a week tournament, and pick the best team from all the people that has performed well in the John Passport week. And remember, this is just a black tournament. Now, whilst we're there, remember all the other white schools around us, your Sex, your Randbush Boys School, your Plumstead, all the other schools were also getting ready for the Nuffield week. They were having their selections for the Nuffield week. Players, I remember that one year, Gary Kirsten was one of those picked in the provincial side. I can't remember the year. He was picked, but he was 18 during that period. He was 18 and picked in one of the provincial side now, meaning all the, what was those days, your elite schools, your elite white schools. And remember, we're not part of those. We're never part of those. And the team that was picked from this past week of black players played against the Western Province Nuffield side. Gary Kirsten was in that team, a few others, a lot of other players, and of which most of other players that were there in that Nuffield side ended up with the Western Province side. For them, Gary and them, it was a warm-up to go to the Nuffield tournament. We weren't going to go to the Nuffield, but we just needed to reward, okay, fine, let's just reward players that has played well in the past week and get them to rub shoulders against the provincial side. It was beaten by this selected side now coming from the past week. Much to the dismay of many, it wasn't expected. And this is just to illustrate how far back this cricket comes from, how far back black cricketers been with their talent that they have. It's natural, but it's been denied through political means. And political means then, that's how it was denied. It's a natural talent. You cannot take it away from us. It's God-given. But they want to find ways of trying to put you off, like the measures they've been using. And those measures, surprisingly enough, they're still here. From those days, still those measures are being used to sideline black players. This comes a long way. A very, very long way. If it has happened during my time and still happening now, something very drastic needs to be done now. No, definitely something has to be done. It's much too far. It's really much too far. I'm talking about a team that was capable of beating a team that comes from, that was a provincial side they beat. This side, with less nets, with less infrastructure, less everything, beating a school, and actually a combination of your Nuffield side was a combination of the schools coming from Cape Town, and those were the white schools, with everything in it. Your nets, your bowling machine, where we had a bowling machine, no bowling machine, this there, everything. You name those things, and they lose to this side. So there was talent. Definitely was talent. If anybody says no time before they get to now, making a big mistake, it's one of those defendables that you cannot defend, because I mean, we all know what had happened. So lost to that side. Again, we needed, as a reward to the players that were picked from the John Pasco Week, because they were coming from different provinces. We needed, when they go back, a recommendation be made to those provinces. Now, those provinces got to start nurturing these players that made the Nuffield Week now. Sorry, they made the Pasco Week. If there's two from border, I'm making an example, two from border that's made the John Pasco Week, the John Pasco team, introduce that two to the main structures of border. They must work with those folks. They must nurture those people so they'd be part of the system in the higher ranks and where it's elite, really. Don't send him back to we used to call it the Makale Pusha as Ladi. You're saying, how is it going to improve? But unfortunately, that's what happened. Hope with potential made a start back there at the end of John Passmore weeks, back to our bread and jam, back to the lotion, back to those old nets, back to the whole nets, but we made something out of those. We made, or they made something out of us. They made us. We tried and they made us to where we could get. We were trying, but the system was hard. We were players, and I mean, to fight this sport, we didn't even know about it. We were looking at cricket. We weren't looking at politics. But as time goes by, you start to figuring out now, what's wrong with me? Because I'm not seeing anything wrong with me. When I go to the trials, okay, because at good time now, we can go to the Western Province trials and start trying out. In between balls, you look next to the net, next to your next door net, where a white guy is betting. This guy is playing a cover drive. I'm playing a cover drive in my net. This other guy also is playing a pool. I'm playing a pool in my net. I'm not saying, I'm just looking at the shots now, this side, either side of the net. You say, but I mean, I don't see anything wrong with me. But at the end of the trials, you know what's going to happen. It was so obvious. It was so obvious. And this is instilled a whole lot of, I mean, one would have hated the game. Didn't have nothing to do with the game. It had to do with the people that were handling the game during those days. People would have hated anything, would have hated the game of cricket. Now, you hate the game of cricket. There's nothing wrong with the game of cricket. It's the people that handles it. Huge problems there, even today. Huge problems. Huge problems. I'm continuing on 10.5. I was highly regarded as a player with great potential. But like I said, was never nurtured like my white counterparts. White players were not born outstanding, definitely not. They were not born outstanding, but they were nurtured to a point where they became better players, which was not the case with us. We were totally sidelined. System sidelined us. I'm sure as we were growing, we started to understand the politics of cricket, but we were not going to give up. We still got to play. Nobody owns cricket. They might have and own their systems, but one day it's going to come right. I'm very adamant about it.
Mr. Malamba?
I go to 10.6. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I just wanted to know, what do you mean that you started understanding the politics of cricket?
If you don't get selected having or knowing inside of you that you've done well at the nets and you don't see a black person around you, or when the team is being announced, then that rings a bell. Then, I mean, it puts you in the sport to start asking questions. You're asking yourself questions, you're not asking anybody. You start asking yourself questions, what is wrong with me? I think I did well. And I mean, you'll see how you look at the netman sometimes. You'll see slogans now and again. I mean, in a way, our cricket started becoming better and better and better because I remember there was a mobile coaching clinic. Peter Kirsten, brother to Gary, Alan Lamb, Garth Leroux, and I remember there was John Embure and Glenn Bush, but that's the time when they were contracted to Western Province. Those players, how it worked out on a Wednesday, they would come or they would join forces with your, I'll say, your promising youngsters, your promising kids from the township and play versus those fake schools. I remember this guy now, he's an umpire, Adrian Holstock. He used to be at SEC, and he was quick those days, very, very quick. It was fun. So we used to play against those schools. We used to play, and it was not just the black, even the colored folks. I remember there was a pole set that was in the side, one of those sides. Now, this mobile side that I'm talking about is a mobile sponsored side to help us upcoming or the players with potential to play with those provincial players on the same field, but getting instructions and training whilst they're on the field. So Peter and all Alan Lamb, and it was a sponsored thing. And I mean, I remember the late Stuart Leary was part of this. I think it was a man that was in charge of this, because he would be the one that would get us from the township and get us to the site. So people would make means, definitely. That's why I say we were getting better, obviously. We were getting, mentored on the field. And then they would mentor us on the same field. Now, you played a good shot sometimes, no, it wasn't the shot to play. But, these games, it was non-stop on a Wednesday during the cricket season in summer. Non-stop. We will carry on with those games, so we were learning. They were preparing us for these trials. Then we went to those trials and only to find out, but now we look like we are nicely equipped, yes. We were, and we had confidence too. But this is where I'm taking you to say, when you look on your left of your net and you look on your right of your net, the time that you went in, you can see, yes, they played, they're ordinary. It's not that they were outstanding, definitely not. And that sometimes, some stage, you'll feel like, I think I've done better here. I think I've done a whole lot better than these folks here. And the next thing you see, same two guys that we were talking about in the team, where's the other guys? Nothing black there in the side, definitely not. Not during that time. They'll never put a black person on the side. They even got to a stage to say we're not ready. But I'm coming to that one where they say we're not ready.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that answers your question, Advocate. Politics came in sport. We didn't know anything about politics, not in sport. But when we started realizing these things are happening, then this is when we said, I don't know, it has to be political. No ways. Cannot be right. I don't know whether that answers your question, Advocate.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Right. Go to the 10.6. Western Province. I made the Western Province under 22 invitation 11 side. And this was the first time on a plane to Namibia. I had a captain. My captain was Barry Tuzel here. I remember very well. I remember very, very well. And this guy, Barry Tuzel, being a captain of us, I've got a nasty story, but not about Barry Tuzel, where his fixtures the story down, bottom down, at the lower down in my order here. 10.7. I also was picked in again in a provincial Western Province under 21, 11. Those are all our invitation sides. Okay, fine. Those are in the wings of getting into the province side, or those that has potential and stuff like that. Those were the players. None the one province, which is your province, which is your main province side. It was just an invitational side. John Commons was my captain there. And this game was played in Langa. And actually, there was also Darren Cup. We were playing against England. I remember this game. So we were playing against England. Darren Goff was spearheading the bowling attack. Darren Goff. And a year later, he ended up in the A side because he had such a very good A tour, England A tour to South Africa. I remember we were leading 12, could have been 12, 10 in the last over. Came in late, slow over rate, slow run rate. Sighted just the first ball, we needed 12. Sighted the second ball, went straight back over his head for a 6. And remember, this is your first international in Langa. Not the first, it's one of the few in Langa. So obviously Langa fans will come out and watch. All excited. It was very exciting times. And I mean, we ended up losing that game. But that's just about the 2 highest I think I've made in Cape Town whilst I was in Cape Town. I go to 10.0. Let me pass this and go to experiences whilst playing at Langa Cricket Club first team. Langa was playing in the 2nd division of the Western Province Cricket then. And been there for a while. I was selected to play the first team. We finished in the top 3 annually, but couldn't get the first spot, which could enable us to gain promotion the following year to a higher division. There, we needed to win in that league, and actually we were the only black side in that league. And most of the players were the players that were playing in that league were the players that we started with on the road. 2nd division of Western Province. We had a formidable side. We were confident. We had strong players and believed in ourselves. We pleaded with the authorities for moratorium arrangement. But we were denied and told we were not good enough. During that period, our cricket had picked up, and we were really in that league. We were winning games. It's only a few things that we couldn't win games, but we didn't have covers. It would rain overnight. Pitch would be wet the following day of the game. And because it's wet the following day of the game, we'll share the points with the other side. Meanwhile, the sides of the teams that had covers, they would put their covers on overnight. The following day, when the rain subsided, they'll open up the covers and play. So with all the infrastructure that was there, also still was in their favor. Because ours will have rain, and we'll draw games because of rain. They'll play their games because they'll really make it and win the league because of those soft points that we were losing. And then we requested via people that were ahead of us, moratorium. We did an arrangement that could have made, because we are the only black side in the league, we needed to get onto the league and play in a league to gain experience in that Premier League, in a higher league. To become better players in the higher league. As we were getting, because our aim was to get to the Premier League, but we were struggling to get because of the factors that I've just put up now. So that was also denied. The moratorium was also denied. We had a set of bowlers in Cyril and Chidi A lot of people know, I know it's long before most of the people, but I mean, this is just to suggest that cricket has always been there. Didn't start now. It didn't start during our time. Black cricket started long before our time. Even my dad is a Springbok in cricket. But he couldn't get the genuine players there because of the cut of his skin, obviously. He didn't get he was a Springbok. And actually, talking about Springboks or Proteas, in the same street where we grew, the same street where we played drum cricket, street cricket. That street alone has produced 3 Proteas, starting with my dad, Tommy, and Temba. And this just the street there. It had an influence, it had a very good influence in our cricket, in our positive cricket that road. And actually, obviously, that's why I say one thing leads to another. My dad, with his cricket and other two, a group that took that up with us or took it back to us. And as we took it, it was just something that was keeping down. I mean, he was becoming, now I get to still play there, the roads. So we had a set of quick bowlers, Cyril Chiti, Bochim Tongana, Rodney and Basil, my 2 brothers, Solomon Farsi. I mean, he was a swing bowler. He was one of the guys that could break partnerships. I mean, we would struggle for a partnership, but I mean, when we give Sodi a ball, he would break the partnership, and then my brothers would finish off the tail end. Our batting department.
Excuse me. Rodney and Basil Malamba. Are they related to you?
Yeah. Yeah, they're my younger brothers.
Okay.
They are my younger brothers, Chairman.
Are they, well, how far did they go with cricket? Sorry, that's another story for another day.
Yeah, no. Similar to most of our black stories, it won't change much. But he got to a stage to making the KZN side, and very, very heartbreaking. And like you say, it's a story for another day. It's very heartbreaking how he was treated by the province where he started developing black cricketers in KZN. It's heartbreaking, really.
Yeah.
But it's really, like you say, it's a story for another day. And I mean, I'm sure that story is going to come out one of these days. So they're also there in quite a strong side. And I just mentioned the bowlers here. There's players, batsmen that I thought was mentioned here as well. Who's a batsman? Obviously, Junior, Sokangile, and that's Temba's uncle. There was one, Tommy's uncle, Kaya Tsoleki, there used to come in earlier up in the order, very stubborn batsman. I was there amongst the mix. I mean, it was very hard to break through that partnership. That is a time when we're still and doing well in the 2nd division of Western Province. That's the reason why we requested that we should be given a chance, because we needed to get to the Premier League. We're getting old, we're not getting younger. We requested for it. They said, no, you're not ready enough. You're not ready at this stage. I remember talking about these players. I nearly forgot. Omar Henry was part of the mobile side. That mobile training academy then assisted black players and so-called colored players of those days with potential. He was one also, a person that was mentoring us there on the field of play. I remember he was still with the province side. Oh my, I nearly forgot to mention him. He was with the Western Province side. Great mate of Peter Kirsten during those days. And I mean, they were really mates, very good mates of those days. I could see it because I mean, as a youngster, those days, even before my playing to hardball days, I used to go a lot to Newlands. We spent a lot of time childhood time at Newlands watching cricket. You'll spend your Saturday, your full Saturday, your Sunday, your Boxing Day test you watch. I mean, it was very interesting. I mean, we grew up under that environment. So we got aligned and we got closer to the game. We got closer to the feel of the game, and it's people, good people would say, some of them, not all of them, obviously not, definitely not. But anyway, those are the names that are mentioned. And I mean, those, we were saying, is that team easily we could have made it. Yes, we could have been. I mean, it would have been a learning process for us to go in a Premier League. That's from second division, first division, that's 2 divisions up. It would have been a learning process. We needed that opportunity to have a black side in the Premier League. They just wouldn't allow for that. We must win. We must win. Few little technicalities like rain, no covers, can't play games and stuff like that denied us that. Where they had no Messi or no moratorium or something of that sort that we afforded. No, okay, go. No, we had to fend it up. I want to go to my move after. Yeah.
Newlands.
And I thought, you can hear me, Tim?
No, I was, yes, I can still hear you. I was inquiring whether you are now going into the Newlands incident, which apparently affected you. Yeah.
Yeah, but yes. Is it possible that I can make a follow through from Langa playing days and then come to the incidents after that?
No, not a problem. Not a problem.
Not a problem, because this is a move now from Langa, and we're not getting anywhere with Langa. With my heart still at Langa, considering my age now, I'm not getting younger, and I needed to play Premier cricket. And then we made a move, and actually to Claremont Cricket Club in Vineyard. I think, I'm not 100% sure. I played also with Gary's brother there, Andrew Kirsten. I remember him. He was also my team. To skip first division and then in Premier. Obviously, with the team coming for the first time, that team, I'll play in the B side. I played in the B side the first because they wanted to see what am I capable of. First game, scored a 50. Following game, they said, you're good enough, come in the Premier League. And I played in the Premier League, and I started playing in the Premier League. Yes, now and again, I'm going to fail and score low scores and this and that and that. I was getting grips of this now because remember, it's a big gap between, not that it's not affordable. No, it is affordable. It's a gap, but you can afford it. Give yourself time to match up with it. Yes, you can. So, days went by. Fixtures went by. I'm gaining the feel of Premier League now, and until a stage that one season first time. Seriously, so I don't know how that happened. I had very strong partners. I ran short of partners on 95, first season there. And I'm coming where? I was coming from a team where they say we're not ready. I wanted to prove a few points. Besides that, I needed a kid. I know I was getting older. I wasn't getting younger. But also, I wanted to prove a point to those that they said, no, you're not ready. I left my club with all my folks, my loving club, my friends and everyone said, no, we've got to do something here. I took it up to myself and I moved through. And also one person that I need to mention here, Mr. Mel Thorne. It was very good. It was more like, because when Mr. Passmore left, when Mr. Passmore normal was there, it could have been late, I think. Mr. Melthorne came in. He's a white guy. Very good white guys I'm talking about. Very good white guys. And Mr. Passmore, Mr. Melthorne assisted and he helped with the club, Clermont, helped with the club in Langa, helped with the... He was everywhere. He was just there for us, man. He was just all over for us. So Clermont ended up one game, 95 runs, not out. And it raises suspicions, huge suspicions, because it couldn't have been said, we're not ready. And then the person that I said to him, he's not ready, he scores 100. The very same year, he reaches Premier League. And that started raising a lot of questions of, could this have been made up? Because I had partners to go to carry me through to 100, and not slouch partners, people that could bet just to get to my 100 in the first season. Could have been something that was worked out. Could have been something that was said. I'm not 100% sure that's what I'm saying, but it always was going to raise suspicion that because we say black people are not ready to get in the Premier League. Now, there's a black person coming in the Premier League and he scores 100. Stop that. This is what I think would have happened. I didn't score my 100. I was left stranded all myself. 95 not out. But anyway, I went to at the end of the season, I got a prize. First season Premier League, remember that, John? Got a prize, the club awarded me lovely players that I had with. I had a prize that says newcomer of the year, because I just rocked, that was my first 6 months in the side. Newcomer, I got a trophy. And during that season, we won the league in Cape Town. Remember, a lot of province players there, those the league, even though some of them went playing my games because they had call-ups in the provincial games. But they were, when they're on a break, they down with us. I faced up to Brian Mack very quick. I faced up to Merrick Pringle quick as well. I've got Merrick Pringle. Pringle couldn't. When we played Greenpoint, it used to be with Greenpoint. We played Greenpoint. Merrick Pringle learned to understand English very late. He's a white guy. But because he was brought up on a farm, he only knew Xhosa first before he could understand English. Yeah. So at our games, Merrick Pringle, when we play Clermont, Greenpoint, Merrick and I would have, at the end of the game, would have our own corner. And we wouldn't be speaking English in that corner. Yeah. But you will be speaking Xhosa in that corner, Merrick Pringle. Hey, Uchibaya Kesa, Lava Bandu Lava.
Oh, yeah.
I used to like that. Huh? Yeah, no, I mean, still my mate. I still am. It's a long time since I've spoken to Mary, but still, yeah, but I mean, jokingly, so he was, but I mean, we used to have good times with Mary Pringle. But anyway, I got that prize, end of the year, end of the season, and I was arranged for a trip to go to England. Would have been my first time again to England. That was 1989-90. 89-90.
What year was that?
89-90 season.
Okay.
It was 89-90 season. Whether it's here or not, I'm not 100% sure. But I remember it was, because I remember the World Cup, 1990 World Cup, I was in England. Football World Cup. I was in England during that period. Maybe it's not here. But anyway, I went to England. I played in the Manchester League. I had a very good season, that one season. I fell slightly short of 1,000 runs from my goal that I had set going through, off making runs. And through those performances, they'd asked me to take, to come back again the following season. They asked me to come back again the following season, but my son was 10 months old during that period. 10 months old, and I said, yes, this is a very hard decision to make. I want to go back, but I cannot see my son here now, 10 months, go back to England and don't see his growth growing up. I called him back and I said, because when we spoke about it, I said, yeah, okay, fine, I still got to make up my mind. And I had to call him back, unfortunately, to say, no, I'm not moving because I need to see, because I didn't want to see my son going through what I went through in my absence. I needed to be a father to this kid. And also to get back during that one period to play and help the Langa side into the Premier League, which wasn't the case because it didn't happen. Also, I mean, get back and try and assist with the play. And actually, I made my move after during this period. Back to Langa. When I came back from England, I didn't go back to Claremont, I went to Langa because I needed to help Langa back into the Premier League. Right, from there, I got an opportunity to work at in East Rualand. It's a farming area, it's a farmer's area. East Rualand, Coxton, Matatiela, and Hardy. I was based in Matatiela, where I would do a whole lot of cricketing related duties, from courses for the teachers to training of the kids, from everything there, you name anything, just about all. I was a development officer there during that period before I left and come to where I am now at the moment. But let me not skip those incidents. Chairperson, nasty incidents experience. A Newlands incident. I mentioned earlier on that I was brought up in Newlands. Every Saturday, when we're still juniors, carry our bags with my brothers, carry whatever we could, in a train from Langa, change Salt River. Salt River, we go to Newlands and get off in Newlands. We've got our own day. We got scuffed in and everything with my brothers. We know we're going to be spending the whole day there, my brothers. So it was something that we will do Actually, our father introduced us once, and he showed us Newlands once, and he never went back with us again. I don't know, everything. And now it was us pestering him, please, let's go to Newlands. So he wouldn't have time because he was working. So we would make our own means to go to Newlands. That's why I say we're taking a train, do all our cargoes the day before, take a train from Langa to Salt River to Langa. It was just, I mean, that's what we as kids. So being elders now, or bigger than what we were during that stage, with the kids that we were busy with, because there is also training that we did at Western Province in Langa. With the kids that we were training, also we wanted to do that. Get them off the streets, spend time at Newlands because it's all a lot safer there. Less drugs, less everything. Spend the whole day there. It's quite a, I would say, very constructive time, very constructive way of spending your time. And this is where that's where we started. I'm back on. I think I'm back on.
Yes, you never left.
Oh, yeah, some teacher. Oh, okay.
Hey, I saw things here on my screen, Chairman. So what I was saying, those kids now that they were kids though, and obviously they are big boys, they're big men now. Took them to Newlands, so one, okay, fine. It was during the day, now and again during the day, but it happened that we had a night game the one time. Province was played. Western Province was playing against one of the provinces. Took these kids, we borrowed the combi, because given this combi, took these kids, put them in the combi. It was so much excitement for them and fun. I mean, that's what we wanted to see. Took them to Newlands. We watched the game, everything went well, and when, because I know the boys going to be wanting, when the game finishes, you don't go as youngsters, we wouldn't go straight back into our cars and home, or back into the train and back home. No, we'll play around, fool around on the field and play a little bit of grass cricket there, and like everybody else is doing. So I gave them my kids that I used to work with, that allowance, and said, okay, fine, because I know it's in kids' interest that they would want to do that. I did it too. I'm giving you 10 to 20 minutes from the time the game finishes, from the time that you're going to find the combi parked, then we all agreed, yes, that's fine, we do. So when the game finished, the ladies know they will be playing, then started counting down time now. I'm in a combi with some of those that weren't interested in playing, but some were interested in playing. Some of the lights at Newlands were off. Mainly the lights around the scoreboard, the old scoreboard, is a Kelvin groove end scoreboard there. Some of those lights there, those lights were off, and those that were left on were the one in the front so that everyone can see or have easy access to going out to the parking areas in the cars and how to get out or where to get out. 20 minutes passed. I'm getting worried. I'm sitting in a combi. 20 minutes passed. Oh, no boys. 25 minutes passed. No boys. Hey. Then one of the boys came running into the combi, exactly where we said we're going to park the combi. And he said, yo, I just managed to break through the, hey, Masibeta, Ben. What? Where? Out the combi, had to follow this boy because they were getting beaten at big time now. Behind a big scoreboard. And remember, these kids are only 10, 9, 8 years. Walked and I ran with this one boy that came because he managed to break away. I went to behind the scoreboard. You can't see what is happening behind the scoreboard. It's so big and it's actually also dark there behind the scoreboard. You can't see nothing. I went around Whitey, I think that's his name, yeah. Went around Whitey, showed me, he says, there, hey, to my astonishment, man, behind the scoreboard, it's a big white oak sitting on top of a boy's tummy. And not just one, others, and other one, and another one. They're sitting, not just they sitting, they slapping the boys. They hitting him as they're sitting on top of the boy. Mine was just to chase or maybe see my presence and get off and jump off the kid so that they can break away. Mine was just to do that. Get closer, maybe shout at them and maybe get a scare and jump off. Through the grace they did. They jumped off because we needed to get these boys away from where that situation they were faced with. So from the scoreboard to the one of the gates that closer to the players, to the players' entrance, or where the players would come from, the balcony. Where to walk, not facing that way, backpedaling because now they right at us, these people. Mine is to be right here and the boys are all behind me. Nothing, it's just a matter of one gets to a range, maybe you kick or something like that, but because we're not fighting, we're backpedaling back to the combi. We want to get to the combi and go home. In the first place, that was wrong, it was done there. Punching kids, small kids, 9-year-old, 10-year-old kids in a tummy during a period. So we managed to do that, and the boys behind me through the gate into the combi. I was left behind. The next thing I experienced, a sharp object hitting me on my head. As I saw blood coming through now. My face was full of blood. Just look behind me, kids are back in the combi, and I said, fine, if that's the case, if they're back in the combi, I'm happy. Province knew me very well, Province players, because of these games that we used to be. They used to mentor us on those games and all that. I went into the Western Province change room with blood and all that, because no one could have assisted me during that period. Kids are in the combi, and I asked somebody to drive the combi away and take them home. I'm going to see for myself how I'll go about others. Went into the province combi, went into the province changing room. As I entered with blood in my face, my clothes and everything else, Peter Kirsten was the first one to jump in. He knew me. What happened? And I told him what happened. Yes. Peter had left everything that he was doing. The best time in cricket, okay, fine, one of the best other times in cricket is your changing room. I know, as a cricketer will know that. Very nice. He left everything like that. He left his mates. Some of the mates came with bets. Province mates, they said, come, let's go look for them. Let's go look for them. But by that time, everybody was gone. And the next thing, Kelly said, let's not waste time. Let me take you to the hospital. He took me to Victoria Hospital. I remember that time very well. Took me to Victoria Hospital for stitches. And I think there was Rob or Robin, his fiancé of that day. I can't remember well, but I remember they took up this whole thing and they took care of me. Got stitches, drove me back home. Langa. And those are the people that I'm talking about. Not every white person was a bad dog, I'm telling you. Not every, they were good white guys, but also there were good ones. There were also good ones. I mentioned Mal Ford, person that stuck out with us during the uprisings in Langa. They wouldn't touch it up. They wouldn't touch. He's coming through for a good cause. He's not coming to cause mischief. He's not coming with a propaganda or agenda or political agenda, whatever. He's just there because he sees where he wants to be assisting. And these are the people, when I started this and I quoted on that verse, that I can think of. And I mean, I took a whole lot of that verse out, that verse, I go with it, I walk with it, because I took very good qualities from those people. And also the verse that I started with. So at home, they're expecting to see me coming back early after the game. I'm delayed. Inside the house, not the same as when I left home. Major bandage here. Hit endurance by White Oaks. That started with the kids sitting there. Started with the kids. And I was there to get them out of the kids, away from the kids. I was there to get them away from the kids. Just chase them and they managed to get off. And then that's actually basically what I wanted to see happening. Kids are safe. Then the rest is, we could see what would happen with the rest. So, but this cricket, we carried on with it. Even those boys, they carried on with the cricket. They played. I need to get to Kiva. That's one of the incidents. Hey, there's quite a few of these incidents here. That's one of the incidents I'm talking about. And that involved kids. Lots of incidents. I happen to be most time the one black person in a team full of white players because of the potential that they said he has got potential, and which was the thing. During the time, I mean, my scores, my runs, my parents would say the only difference is that I was black, too black to be nurtured. System wouldn't nurture me like they would take care of the white people. They wouldn't. Meanwhile, we're talking cricket, and we thought we were talking cricket. We thought we were talking cricket, we're not talking cricket. Meanwhile, that's what. Incident at Namibia, Western Province team again. Under 21, Barry Truzel was my captain. Played a game, won at Wanderers. Played a game, we won the game at Wanderers. Now again, with cricket, it's normal. At the end of the game, you go back, changing room, after changing room, you go and have your meals. And after the meals, I mean, it just depends on the mood. So same thing, but there was something that was organized for us at the Wanderers Stadium. And that was called October Festival. It's an October festival in a massive tent there. So after the game, with all our players nicely dressed up for the occasion, only one entrance by the tent where we got to go in and maybe show a ticket or get a stamp or be counted. You could see, and I could tell something wrong here. I could tell something wrong here. Because the looks of the people that were in the tent, they weren't staring at anybody else that I was walking with as a team. They were staring at me. Oh, hey, something wrong here. I could sense something. And before even going deeper, because maybe after a few things could have been worse. And one white guy, Afrikaans guy, came. He came and he asked me in Afrikaans, and he said, I say, sick. Oh. Me now and my players are all looking, now what's this guy? And he's not looking at any other player. He's looking at me. Now my players are waiting now to see all other players, professional players, waiting to see what this guy is meaning. I say, sick. I know a bit of Afrikaans. And I asked him, hoekom? What hoekom is he so swart? Ow! And I knew trouble's going to start. That's why I say, fortunately,
when he says, hoekom is he so swart? So you link it to the first question he asked. Are you sick? Why are we so black?
Yeah.
So to him...
it's a racial slang.
Yeah.
It's a derogatory, yeah.
Yes.
It's something derogatory that you were saying, because I'm the one guy odd, one black person, and actually the all other black people that you will see there would be the black people that are sweeping, that are collecting bottles and empties and whatever, all that. Now this black guy, me, nicely dressed up in chinos and nice shoes and all that. So they see a different black person. After a black person is supposed to be, in their case, be collecting bottles. He's supposed to be sweeping the floor. He's supposed to be a black person that comes there. He's not a person that's going to be partying like others or maybe enjoying himself like the other white counterparts. I mean, with my team. Then, I say, through the grace again, we just got there. So I don't think there was
whoever was there hadn't heard a lot. This is what I think. But again, I played it safe. And I spoke to Barry Tuesday. Said, Tuesday, I'm not going to last here. Please, I need to go back. I'm not comfortable. I just want to go back to the hotel, sleep or whatever, watch TV, and then go back and focus on the game for tomorrow. But this is upsetting. This is really upsetting. And one guy was organized, put us in a combi. Some of the other guys came with me and they said, yeah, but this is nonsense. So I hate guys, around those. That's why I say not all the white people are bad. Some of those guys, the teams that they came with me and they put up with me and said, Ben, you're going back, and we're also going back. We're going to stay at the hotel. And then it's just 30, not under an hour, we just got there. We didn't spend a lot of time. We could have just bought a Coke and maybe a roll just to eat, maybe a supper, something like that, and then this thing happened. So, rough times were really rough times then. Really, really rough times. Then, in the name of cricket, how sad that can be. How sad that can be. People's going to go through this, you bringing race card into this game. That people, I was listening to some of the stories, and these stories are new stories. These are players that are coming after my time. Stories I've been listening to. And these are the stories that have been happening for all these. If I can come up with what I've just been saying now, and a couple of years or maybe 2 generations, 1 or 2 other generations later, a person is still talking the same language. We transform. Where is it? They must show us. They must show us. These stories are similar, the same. Same story that I'm coming up with. It's the same as most of the other stories that our people that testified came up with. Where is this transformation? I just need to see this transformation, but show us. And you say there's transformation. I'm part of a system now, but where's transformation? I'm part of a system right there. And coincidentally, we've got here, I got elected to be election to be in a sports confederation council, sports of my district where I am now at the moment. And so the first year, I've been elected previously and all that, before years. This sports confederation committee or council, it subscribes to SASCO. It subscribes to SASCO. And in my district, yeah, I'm a transportation. I was elected as a transformation officer. Transformation officer just in a district. And in the province, yeah, there's a transformation officer there as well who happened to be a cricketer, who happened to be part of the cricketing council. In the same body as the sports confed, I'm representing my district. He would be representing the western, the province. He would be the transformation provincial. There's a lot of talking we need to be doing. What's everybody else going to say about me? I'm busy, a transformation officer, busy working on transformation of other codes, because this confederation, sports confederation, not just for one code. It's for all the codes. Busy talking transformation on all the other codes. Meanwhile, this cricket is not transformed. I can't start talking to everybody else and all the other teams that are part of this. Meanwhile, cricket, the same cricket I work for, is not transformed. There's a lot of transformation that needs to be done in this country. I'm telling you, this numbers, and I mean, it's only about ticking boxes. People are just rushing to tick boxes. As long as there's a black person, tick box. Higher bodies quite comfortable with that box ticked. Doesn't investigate. Let's see, because now it has to come to that stage. Tick box and follow up. You can't tick box and just keep quiet. They've not been following up with people right on the top. They've just been quiet. They have tick box being ticked. There's a black person finishing club. It's high time they get out of their offices and tick box and follow. Follow up, see what you tick for. It's like signing. It's bad. It's saddening. I'm telling you, it's really saddening. I think I've covered most of those incidents. As I said, I was going to be coming to 2002 from East Rigoland to 2002. East Griqualand has spent years from 1994 till 2001 in East Griqualand. And then 2002, I got a position to start here.
East Griqualand, when we were at Matatiel, was it?
Yeah, that's Matatiel, Kokstad in Haring.
Yes. Yeah.
Matatiel, I would be based in Matatiel and then go serve for a week in Kokstad, go serve in Harding for a week, come down back to Matatiel. It was for 7 years I've been doing that. Mm-hmm. Before I came across, and actually they were infrastructure.
But they were cricketers. I mean, you don't expect to make your coaches in an area like that, but to introduce the game and at least give them a chance. Who knows what might happen next? And this is what was there. It's actually
in that area, there are places like Mount Fletcher and Cedarville. Did anything take place in Mount Fletcher?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So those were the areas.
Mount Fletcher, remember?
Mount Fletcher was too far, and remember, it was classified as a province in the Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
So there would be those boundaries then, Chairman, that when I was there, I would be supposedly would be looking after those areas in or under KZN, because Matatiela was under KZN.
Yeah.
But 5 kilometers outside of Matatiela, it's back to the Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about 5 kilometers. There's all the Malutis areas and the other areas that, I mean, so in mind would be your the politics of the day ended up with only towns, serving towns, and take them under KZN. Matatiela la KZN, take Kokstad la KZN, take Harding towns, just your towns, but around there, townships, those townships there, your rural areas and all that belonged to the Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
And there was less interest of taking care of those because they belong to the Eastern Cape. So is Mount Fletcher. So that's how I didn't end up doing some work there in Mount Fletcher because of your boundaries that were there at the time.
Yeah.
Then I came across.
With 2002, I'm interested in the remarks you make about your payments, your remuneration, and the shock you got when you found that your remuneration.
Yeah.
Yes.
$100. 2002, I assumed a cricket coordinator. It's a coordinator / coach job. Now, I would have been deployed, in Southern Natal. Would have been deployed, and actually that's how it goes. Employed by the province, but deployed to service Southern Natal area with all, I've got in one of those, with all the duties, the required duties that I should perform, like your courses for your mini cricket, your coaching, and all of those. They're quite a package. And they're quite a package for what? For 5,000 rands a month. 5,000 rand a month. because I had that scripture, I took it on. That I've already speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. And then actually at that time, I've taken cricket as my calling. I've taken up cricket as my calling. It was no more a job because, I mean, even whatever I could get, still, it will serve a little kid that doesn't have bread to go home. I'm going home, I don't have bread. It will give that little kid whatever 10 rand or 20 rand to buy bread at home. And it's not that that kid doesn't have bread, it's a family that doesn't have bread. So my little money wasn't just for me and my family, and even with the destitute and all those that cannot help themselves. We try and contribute as much as we can. So it wasn't the end of it. So I made my inquiry. And actually this came with, I mean, pension. You're not looking for pension now and UIF as if, I mean, the intention at the end of the day, you're going to lose your job. You need the money now so that you can get out your petrol. You can get out your going out. I made my inquiries and actually started checking around because this grant was coming from Cricket SA, the grant. It was a case, it was a Cricket SA job that be a coordinator coach in this area. But obviously they wouldn't pay me directly. They'll pay the province will pay me. I went and did my research about how much other coordinators start when they're employed, or when they get employed by, or when they start assuming those positions. Others 15, others 20,000 rand different from my 5,000 rand I was getting.
How was that explained? If it ever was explained. I mean, it's 3 times. Another coordinator, because he's white, is getting 3 times as much as you were getting. I don't get it.
Yeah, Chairman, those are the, I mean, these are all what's happened to us. I mean, from the playing days, we got a draft. And I mean, there's nothing else we want to, cricket would have been my career because I chose to be a cricketer at some stage and actually go with cricket as a career. Hence, I've got some studies that I did in cricket, and actually I'm in this province, I'm one of the few, and actually even from those days, one of the few that had these qualifications, I mean the higher qualifications here. And talking about that higher qualification, one time in 2007, a person came to, he was shortlisted with me
for a job that had more than this 5,000 rand that I contested. It went to as far as being shortlisted. Now, when I get to the venue, hey, but this oak doesn't, this oak doesn't work here. But he's been shortlisted, and I asked people, but how come I'm being shortlisted with a person who's coming from the outside of cricket, who is an external person, whilst this job had to be seen first that you don't qualify, or there's no person qualifying internally. Then we go externally. In this case, wasn't the case walked together like that, a person that came from outside, but he's a favorite. He has been a favorite, always been a favorite. And he ended up with a job, coming from outside. How is it right? Opportunity lost. Opportunity lost, Chairman. I was saying, if it wasn't for him, I had all what it takes to be, to get that job. I had everything that it took. And at this stage, this person doesn't have all what it took to get this job, but he got it.
Yeah.
It's sad, very sad story. And I mean, it's not only me that gets such stories. There's a lot of people that tell sad stories. People have been taken for a ride here. I mean, black people, they've been taken for a ride, big time. They've been taken for a ride.
Mm-hmm.
Another sad story, where I am at the moment. There's a World Cup legacy project that after World Cup 2003, all the sub-unions or member associates, affiliates, got a grant. Could have been around about 250,000. That is 2003. That is 2003 World Cup. But this, after the World Cup, then we got the money got into the sub-unions account. I'm not shy to tell you that that money is still sitting in a bank, whether it's being used, it's still sitting in the bank of this member associate here. I've been pleading for a ground. You don't need a full ground in the township just away from me here in Kamalaki. You just need a grader. It's not going to take a lot of a huge chunk of that money. You need a grader, and we're going to take a few kids from that area. We start doing what? Grassing, watering, and all. It's in an enclosed place in the school. I stopped asking.
What answer did you get every time you answer?
Money is there, waiting. What is he waiting for? You don't get a straight answer. You don't get a straight. You get an answer that suggests that the political will is not there, just not there to assist. I mean, this money was made to develop those areas that are not developed. And it's still in a bank since then. And I mean, not to say the areas are developed. Areas been worked out, they sorted. And the township is going to appeal. And this is basically what we needed. Township is going to appeal. A township got this from this money. Money is parked in the bank. Kids are still battling outside in the township and the rural areas. No field. We need a field. We need to have a field. And there's nowhere else where we're going to get the money from the field, from this sub-union. Because that sub-union represents that township. We're not going to get it from King Tekwayo, because King Tekwayo has its own. We're not expecting to get it from another sub-union of member affiliates. They've got their own. I've listened to good stories, Chairman. I've listened to good stories about how this money in other places has worked. There's a field in Alexandria. There's a field in Alexandria. And the old that was telling me about this story is the person who used to be training under me, under 18s here, down there, the cricketer, Karl Kapasai. He went to as far as varsity, which one I'm not 100%, but was not here. But he played cricket there in the round, and one of the round teams. Came back holidays because he's a local. Studying there, come back, and he comes back and tell me brilliant stories about what they did with them. And he shows me photos, what they did with their money. Where's your money now? Asking, yeah, no, you can see what we've done with our money. Where? He says, ground there, shows beautiful fields been set up from that project. What are we waiting for? What? And that you call transformation. You call it transformation. Transformation is not at heart here of the people. I'm telling you. That tick goes to, unfortunately, it goes to there on the top. Captured already, those on the top. They finished, they've been captured already, finished. Unfortunately, it goes back to their system. Meanwhile, you burn one ground in Gamalake. How many kids you gonna get out of mischief? How many kids you gonna get them to play cricket or sports? And that field would have been placed in a genuine place. I mean, it's in a school, nicely fenced round up. How many soccer players? I mean, they don't have a few soccer players you can get there. That's why it's a school ground, but it's not entirely just for cricket. You can save a lot of lives. You can take a lot of people away from drugs. Kids, I mean, there's drugs. There's so many kids, I mean, buying drugs now. Just a simple field to keep those kids in a little clubhouse and have a better upbringing outside of home. Because outside of the home, we must know the influence that you bump into as a kid. Lots. And you end up doing things that are not supposed to be doing. We could have been saving that situation. Simple, build a field in my case. In a township, we need that field. Instead of building a field, you take the nets away from us and go and give it to a school that has nets. Leave school. Hey, saddening. That's why I asked, and you get saddened. And really, where is this transformation? I'm asking, and I keep asking this question. Because on the top, they keep ticking box and not following up. You just tick and happy of tick box. Everybody's happy. Meanwhile, nothing has happened. Absolutely nothing has happened. We could have been saving lives. The sport is to save lives as well. Give kids direction. What's going to happen to these other kids that haven't got parents? There's a lot of kids that don't have parents. I mean, we should be parenting those kids, and we should be guiding and controlling and protecting those kids. We should be acting as adults. We're not. It's just been a sorry state of affairs, really, how people can get on. It's hard, Chairman, it's hard. Actually, it's people that makes it looks hard. Can be easy, I know, but there's no political will, basically. People wants to, as long as I can get, I don't worry about the next. And this is the feeling I'm getting. I'm not saying that is what is happening. This is what I'm getting as a feeling. As long as I'm hundreds, I'm happy.
Mr. Malamba?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can you explain why the cricket nets, which were meant for black schools, were redirected to, as you say, an affording white school by the KZN Cricket Union?
Yeah, it's not KZN per se. It is the sub-union that did it. It's a local sub-union that did it, and they took the nets. We had floods one time here at the grounds where we're working from. And the floods that we had to salvage. And actually, I personally did it, salvage whatever we could. And in that case, I salvaged the nets, found a truck. I had to go get a truck, put these nets in a truck, and ask from a ground just across the road from us, can you please keep these nets here for us? Please keep these nets until that place is settled or is sorted. The next thing you hear, same nets that I had kept for where I would have used it, whether it be the same ground or at a school where they really need those nets, or Kamalaki, take them to the Kamalaki, put them there in the school where we're still fighting for the ground, to get a ground going, put them there. Next thing you hear, they all are gone. Gone to a white school. That can afford. It's not that it cannot afford. It can. It's a major school.
Why do you think this was so? Why do you think this was so? Or what explanation was given to take away from the needy to those who do not need them, in the sense that if they needed them, they could acquire them?
What they said from the one that asked, they told him that they borrowed the school the nets with those permission. Does everybody know that? They borrowed, that's what it said.
Something you borrow is something you return at some stage.
I didn't get that, Chairman.
Now, if you say those equipment if you got an answer that they were borrowed from where they were taken from, if I understood you well. Now, if you borrow something from anyone, it's something that understandably will be returned to where you borrowed it from. Is that what you were made to understand? That this equipment had not been removed permanently from the needy school. It had just been borrowed.
That is the answer I'm getting. That is the answer I'm getting from the one that asked what happened when he asked the people that borrowed the school. And the answer was, we borrowed the school. We borrowed them. And they were there for a reason, till the right time when then we can take it, put it to school. Put them where we really need them. It's not that that school cannot afford.
Yes.
We could have tried means and did, even if we had to again get another truck and take the nets and take it to school. They were going to get there, but I'm waiting. I can't get a ground. That's the thing. There's money in the bank. Can't get the ground. I don't need the whole money. I need the grader, basically. I need a grader. The rest of kids are keen. There's a whole lot of kids that plays cricket there. They're keen to come and help because they know at the end of the day, it's going to be their own ground. Ground's going to be theirs.
Yeah, well, time is always the enemy of all of us. But I would like you to touch on the suggestions that you make as you see them for required changes. And I think you cover that on page 13 of your affidavit in paragraphs 36 to 39. You can talk to that.
Let me start. I've got bad experiences with school, starting from my early days.
Yes.
From my early days. If, let's say, I'm coming from A school, Chairman, you're coming from a B school. I didn't put the name, just let's represent that school. And the advocates represent the C and the D school. When it comes to trials, me coming from A school, I'm going to push hard enough to try and get my kids into the team. You will do the same. Try and push as hard to get your kids to the side. Two advocates will do the same, try and push their kids into the side. You see where there's a kids in between. There's kids that are thinking, I feel, even from the olden days, they could have been picked, but uses biasness. When he's pushing for a school, he's not pushing for a better cricketer to get into a team. He's pushing for a school, my school. Oh, my school has made so many kids. Oh, my school. A lot of kids has gone through the cracks in the system because one's looking at the school's interest instead of looking at the cricket's interest. And my suggestion here, it's clear. It's very clear. If you have been on a first class, just a suggestion, you played first class cricket and you don't belong to a school, those are the people that should be made selectors of the school side. The committees, yes, I understand they can run their own show, mustn't come and select here because it's not about selection of a cricketer, it's about selection of how many of my kids go into, or my school A goes into the team. And if you're not amongst those known schools, you're out. How this is going to be taken forward, that's what I'm saying. If you have played first, easy, yeah, in my case, plays it in. Dolphins players can be, they come and select at your school's trial. Those people, they don't have any interest or wouldn't have or shouldn't have an interest in the school, whether coming from that school or that school. They'll be looking, the interest would be only at cricket, mainly. And plus, they understand the game. Other selectors you find never even played mini cricket. He's there, clipboard, walking, ticking what? Ticking what? Never even played mini cricket. What is he going to tick there? What is he looking out for? You never played cricket. You're a selector. What are you looking out for? A lot of better players, good players, has gone through the black and white. I'm saying across the board here. Black and white, I'm not talking about black players, only black and white have gone through the cracks because of the biasness, which is at a very early stage, of the school stage. First-class cricketer knows what to look out for. They must come and select the team with their impartiality because they don't belong to a school. They come neutral, their interest is triggered, their their contracts, I'm making an example, their contract is Dolphins. They're looking at cricket. And this is for the betterment of the game rather than being for the betterment of a school or a person from a school. And what next? But if it's a cricketer, that's, I mean, for a long term, because that player is going to stay longer with the province, picked on merit, even got a better chance for even better colours in the pro tiers. Things that has to be, as far as I say, transformation is not about black and white. Definitely not. These are the things, this is the system that's been there for ages. I suffered through the same system because the teachers were selecting, or the educators, that they call it, were selecting. Some of them, that's why I say some of them don't even have, never played mini cricket before. What he's going to be looking out for. And that's where it should start. Because every single kid that would be coming through, we know, people that we're selecting, that they don't belong to us, they all are neutral, supposed to be. They all are impartial, supposed to be. They don't belong to us school, supposed to be. And in the case, you can always improve on that. An old boy, I'm making an example. You can't take an old boy or person that went to, let's say, I'm making an example, to an A school. If my A school has got a player that no longer has got a player in the Dolphins that is no longer now at school, I can't bring that person to my A school to select because again, come from the same school. Find other people that come from different schools to select them. When it comes to, they can pick their own school sides. Yes, I agree. Pick yours, but when it comes to the provincial trials, put teachers away. Put them one side. Bring first-class cricketers. They must come select. A person that is not part of a school. Like I'm saying, same thing happened to, I mean, Captain, keep asking, where is transformation? Because this also was part of my downfall, not just me, a whole lot of us. Teachers will have their own schools interest in. They won't have an interest in a kid or a cricketer. Instead of looking at a cricketer or to pick a side. They won't be looking to pick a strong side. They will be quick looking to pick how many from our school, how many from his school. People can be a whole lot healthier. That's why I said it's not, people are making it very difficult. People are making it sound as if it's you've got to crack a mine to get a cricketing team. No. If you got the right people in the right place, things are going to go the right way. And obviously, your heart's going to be in the right place too. You can't be selecting and looking at what am I getting? No. What am I getting for selection? No, it comes with passion. It's got to come from a passion. What am I getting for selecting? We should be looking at those people. Look at people that comes with a passion to do a thing. Not a person that the biggest mistake I came or a downfall with you. Oh, I select, but am I getting something out of this? No. So you'll find everybody rushing for that something because there's something. You find everybody rushing for that something else. There's something, yeah, there is something out of it. So they're all fighting for that something.
Now,
in the process, what happens? The other things go through the cracks.
Excuse me. Since you have been talking about schools, do you think it would be in the interest of this entire project to sound out the education departments, whether at the provinces or at the national level, just to find out what are they doing or what have they done and what is in the pipeline by way of a plan for sporting codes, particularly since we are now focusing on this one for cricket. Because it's a recurring theme, this thing about the foundation.
No, no.
So what are your thoughts?
It's not going to stop now.
No, I was asking, what are your thoughts about that? Because, well, maybe I'm asking a question that is already self-evident from your presentation. It's just that, you know, I'm thinking, and I want you to think with me here. Do you think this entire problem, such as it is, would be addressed? Because I mean, I'm looking at schools in Rondebosch and schools in Claremont and all those places, and I compare them with schools in Gugulethu, Khayelitsha, and Kwalanga, and I'm asking myself, you know, in some schools there are facilities, in fact, you know, world-class facilities, and in the others, in the townships, for instance, you don't get those kinds of facilities. How is transformation going to take place when there are those kinds of disparities? What are your thoughts?
Chairperson, your case is good as mine. If you put it in that manner, because it starts, I mean, facilities is part of your transformation. It's something that you need to transform from previously to a new normal, new something different. If you talk transformation, it's quite a wide subject, very wide. So if those had to happen, okay, fine, in your example, your Rondebosch boys or your sex versus a school in a township, whether it be Langa or Gugulethu, those schools need nets. That's only for cricket now we're talking about. They need nets, basically. Because those schools in a township, they're not far away from each other.
Yes.
They can centralize a field where everyone else can use a field, but as long as those schools from the starting point, their nets, basically, one field central somewhere where they can play games and take it from there. Things gonna improve as they go along. Things will improve as they go along. But there has to be a starting point, and the starting point will always be your cricket nets.
Well,
and with time, maybe one school will decide, okay, fine, maybe we've got our funds, we decide we make our own ground, our own field, but we need in one cluster, in a clustered area where it can be worked out, school net and a field for the clustered area. The nets at the school and the ground or a field at a clustered area.
Well, as I said, time is the enemy of all of us, but I think the time we've had together in this session has been meaningful and has been very informative. And I think you are one of the few people who have articulated the importance of the schools or the education system and the extent to which it is central to any transformation of any sporting code, whatever one understands transformation to mean. It's food for thought for us. And it is something that will occupy our minds as we ponder how to deal with this subject and topic, which the Social Justice and Nation Building Project has put before us to engage in debate with members of our community, people like you, like all the others who have come before us in search for a solution. Because I hope that everybody who comes here is interested, when once it has been identified that we have a problem, to find a solution to the problem. Not merely problematize this thing and leave it there. I think at the end of the day, we want to find what should be done. And hopefully, those who are in the levers of power and have the power to cause things to happen, and those who are in charge of the resources, who have been privileged over time, would be quite amenable to share those resources with those who do not have or who are not similarly endowed. And we wouldn't think that far if it had not been for the provocations or for the thoughts that have been provoked by your presentation. So please don't think that you are taking your having come for granted. You have caused us to think, and I cannot thank you enough for having done that. Technology notwithstanding, technology sometimes challenges us. Hey, I can't hear you. Hey, can you raise your voice? Can you do this? But we have negotiated that, and I hope that for those who rely on these technological feeds for purposes of letting the nation understand, will try and get the best out of what the technological platforms are trying to get to the nation, as you testified today. And on that note, I wish you well. Please look after yourself, wash your hands, wear a mask when you are in public, keep your social distancing, and I hope that you will live long enough for you to see the product of this project, which we hope to deliver by the end of this year, certainly towards the end of September or at the end of September. And then we will give it to those who have instructed us. And then we will see how far we can take the project of nation building by transforming cricket as a sporting code. Thank you very much, sir.
I thank you for making this platform available. I've got a feeling from now onwards that it's all positive and positive going forward, and looking forward to see it going forward with quite very, happy results at the end of the day, because at the moment, past system and this, we're not happy as such, I say, but we're hoping for the happy ending of the whole saga that's been there, still here, and we trust you guys to stop the rots now. It's long enough. It's far long enough.
Yes.
Putting your trust in you.
Thank you. We are adjourned to tomorrow.